Hi everybody, this is Christine Bertram and I'm coming to you live from the Hive here on a Sunday afternoon for a Stampin' Card class. I think officially say that this is my first Sunday online card class. I've gone live on Sundays, but I don't think I've officially ever done a card making class. And so this is the first time for this particular type of card class that I'm doing on a Sunday. My days are really full and I added another card class to the mix in spite of having an already full schedule. So about maybe 4 or 5 months ago, Tyler said to me, you should do a beginner's class. And I thought, hi Pauline, watching from Eastern Oregon, and I thought, okay, I've done beginners card classes before, and it's been a while since I've done one. So he's like, you need to be doing these. And I'm like, yes, dear. So I knew that I couldn't add another weeknight. Hi, Judy Immel. I couldn't add another weeknight to my schedule because I already do classes in person on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then Thursdays are the lives, and Fridays, maybe twice a month, I'm already doing a card class. And then I do 1 to 2 in-person classes on Saturdays. If Saturday is already full, I do Sunday. Hi, Danny. So I'm like, dear, how am I gonna fit this into my schedule? And I'm already seeing you not a lot the way it is. So I can cohorted, or I have a partner in crime, I should say. Hi, Patricia Settle. So I have a partner in crime, and her name is Diane Bogenhagen, and she's on my team. And I was telling my group about this, and she was listening, and she thought, well, maybe I should do this with her, because I thought I can do an online class, because I can fit an online class into my schedule anywhere, but I couldn't fit another weeknight. And I know that the gals who come to my classes, or the classes in person in the Hive, whenever I do one that's online only, it's not so cool, and they want to do it. Hi, Tammy Steckling. Hi, Sandy Wicklander. So I'm like, well, if we're going to do this, we got to do an in-person and we got to do an online. And so I thought, okay, well, let's go with Diane, and Diane's going to help me design the cards. And so we designed these together, and then that was perfect. She's doing a Tuesday night class once a month, and I'm going to be doing these on Sundays for the time being. I think they're generally either the second or the third Sunday. I don't know, I think I said that right. Sundays for me. And she's going to be doing them on my date night, which is Tuesday nights. So that's how that worked. Thanks for everybody who said they're sharing the video. That's awesome. So this is my beginner video, or beginner card class. And I am going to start off each of these classes with an introduction to stamping, because I find that I've been stamping for over 20 years. So for me, it's old hat to know what's all involved in stamping and what you need. And I make more elaborate cards than I would say than most people do. I love layers. I love embellishing. I have always made it a goal to add ribbon to cards. I overmake cards, and that can be overwhelming and intimidating to people who are just starting out, and they don't even know where to start half the time. And I feel like that, and Tyler said, like, you might scare people away. We don't ever want anybody scared away from stamping, because it's such an amazing hobby, and the creative outlet for people is amazing, and to share something with others is an incredible thing as well. Hi Melanie, hi Jeannie Parker, thanks for sharing. I'm trying to buy myself time of finding this on my phone so I can watch with you guys on my phone. Thanks for sharing, Anne. So we have a smaller than normal class today. I have 13 who signed up. Hi, Brenda Wood. Diane has, I believe, 4 for Tuesday, so it's a smaller class. So I did prep with 20 in mind for this class, because I think that if you guys watched me any of my other classes, I've prepped all of these July classes way back over 4th of July weekend, knowing that I wouldn't have a lot of time because of the summer creative escape. So with that being said, I do have, oh, here I am. Yay. Perfect. Okay. So I do have 8 sets of these cards left in case there is anybody who didn't sign up that would like a set of cards, I do have some left. So if you're interested, they are free with a $40 order mailed, or they would be $20. Yes, Melanie flew out Friday and she is in Florida and exhausted putting together furniture. So, when I moved down to Miami for work, my mom came down and helped me to get all situated. It's awesome. Moms are amazing. Hi, Jason Brown. So, all right, for Let's Just Stamp card class, I'm just going to do a roll call really quick just to call up people. I know that a couple of you couldn't make it, but you're going to be watching the replay. So I'm excited because Brenda Wood's here, Jeannie Parker's here, Barb Barco, Deanna Stell, Ann Bellinger, Linda Hodge couldn't be with us. She got invited to dinner, so I told her go, have fun, enjoy, and catch the replay. Hi, Sandy Wicklander's with us, Cynthia Runtree, Ellen Brover, Patricia Settle, Faye Gabi, Julie Sanders, and this is her free class. Hi, Tessa, sitting at the UPS box. Oh no! So Julie Sanders won this class because she participated in the Craft Roulette game show that I was the guest crafter on a few weeks ago. And the wheel was lucky, or she was lucky with the wheel. So she is enjoying this class for free. She got her card kits and she's ready to go. Debbie Schultz also is signed up for this class. So that's 13. So I do have actually only 7 left. So, because I made 20, I got to do the math. So all you guys that are joining me for class, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I really truly appreciate your business. And while I'm at it, there's only one person that placed an order to get the class for free, and that would be Barb Barco. And so by a process of elimination, she is the lucky winner of the door prize that I'm going to be doing. Well, there's going to be no drawing later because she's it. So, all right. So give me a thumbs up or some hearts if you guys think that you consider yourself more of a beginner stamper. I'm curious how many people are watching me right now that might consider themselves beginners. A beginner is somebody that maybe doesn't know all the ins and outs, that hasn't been stamping, crafting for a very long time, feels like they don't know what's going on half the time, maybe. They're not sure what's all involved in stamping. Maybe they haven't made many cards, or they're just getting started. I know that a lot of people that they got to start somewhere, and usually they're introduced to this hobby because of a friend that got them to come along to a card class, or maybe they randomly saw somebody on Facebook making a card and all of a sudden they want to get into this hobby, and it's like, how do you get into this hobby without spending a lot of money, right? Because all of a sudden you need this and you need that, you need this and you need everything under the sun, right? So all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this little inexpensive hobby became something that was like, whoa, like a lot. So Anne says she's intermediate. So that's good too. So it's good. It's always, with you guys, when you're watching me, I never know who is what or at what level. So I try to just explain everything as much as I can all the time. Hi, Angela. Hi, Ellen. So this one in particular is a beginner's card making class. So let's just stamp. The cards that Diane and I designed have no die cutting and have no embossing. Yes, Angela is learning more and more every day. So that's perfect. You guys, you're never going to stop learning. I've been stamping for 20 years and I learn something new all the time as well. People are telling me little tips and tricks and, oh, did you know this? Or, oh, you know that. As long as you're willing to listen and learn, you're going to learn new things. So when Diane and I designed these cards, we had one goal in mind. Basically, no die cutting and no embossing and no punching. Because when a beginner starts stamping, they don't know, or they don't have those tools. And Brenda went a lot of years with no guidance. Okay, well, so you're going to start getting some good guidance. Thanks, Angela. So we designed these cards with nothing except for paper and stamps and ink. And we did add some embellishments. We love to bling it up, and we added some ribbon. My goal has always been, so when I started stamping with my friend Gina Bulow in 2016, we made a goal that we wanted to put ribbon on every card. And that has carried through with me this whole way, because Stampin' Up! Usually has some pretty awesome and amazing ribbon. Melanie's been using stamps to make her own DSP. See, that's awesome too. That is a great way to be creative with making your own paper. So Jeannie, this is her second year of learning the products. Okay, so we're all across the board. I know that, like, if I had to guess, Sandy Wicklander, you've been stamping for many years and you're pretty advanced. So everybody's all across the board. And no matter what, when somebody, so I did the tidings class in person yesterday and I did it online with you guys on Thursday. There's 4 cards. It went from a very beginner card that really didn't require much effort or energy and then all the way to an advanced intricate card with splattering and embossing and just a whole bunch of stuff. And so when I do a card making class, I generally try to cover everybody's aspect, and hopefully the beginners aren't overwhelmed and hopefully the advanced aren't underwhelmed. So hi Randy from Southwest Michigan. So I started doing card making classes back in 2015, and in 2016 in May, I actually did a beginner's card making class, and I did that series for a few months, and I would get 1 or 2 people, maybe sometimes 4, and then it kind of fell by the wayside because I looked at it as like, well, if people are beginners, they can just come to my class and I'll teach them in class how to start. And so, hi Jeannie Terwilliger. So I do have a PowerPoint presentation, you guys, that I'm going to kind of go off of just to talk to you a little bit about what stamping is and what's involved, what you need, what the differences are in some of the products, and then we're going to make the 4 beautiful cards. So if this is boring to you or you know all this, you can like mute me or tune me out while you're watching this part, and then we can get into the card making, or listen with your ears wide open and let's see what we can learn. For those watching the replay, you can always fast forward at any point too. So what we're going to go over today is what is a paper crafter. Still learn new. Yes, exactly. Sandy, you're in my boat. I think we've been doing this for lots of years, but it's always learning. And then they come out with new products that you have to learn the new products. So I want to go over what a paper crafter is, what the basic materials that you need are. And I want to ask you guys if you could tell me what the 5 things are. Write in the comments. I'm not going to tell you what they are until I start talking about them each individually, but this is your chance because when I do this in person, I always love to hear what people say. There are 5 things that you do need when you're making and designing cards or creating cards. A lot of people guess other things that you don't necessarily need, but there are 5 core things that you need, and I'm curious what they are. So in the comments, if you have a chance, don't be shy, tell me. And there's not really a wrong answer. I'm just curious what you guys all know. So Melanie Foy, you should have brought a paper pumpkin with you. That would have been an easy thing to pack to work on. Some pants for the new semester with there. I love it, Danny. Awesome. Get those pants ordered. I have to order, after we're done with the live, I have to get on to Sam's Club and get some stuff ordered for the summer creative escape. So I will be doing my online ordering after. Okay, so as you ink, paper, scissors, adhesive. Okay, Ellen, that's 4 of them. There's one more thing that you need when you're making cards. Okay, so you're good. You got 4 of them. That's perfect. So I'm going to keep going while you think of the other one. I'm going to go over some tips and techniques. I'm going to go over some different types of cards getting started. Okay, and then tell you what the next class is all about. Paper cutter. There you go, Vanessa. She got it. Paper, adhesive, stamps, ink pads. Yes. Paper, cutter. Yeah, so like cutting tools, paper, adhesives, stamps, and ink. Exactly. Yep. Yes, perfect. So oh, I'm sorry. So Ellen, I read that wrong. You had scissors and I thought you said stamps. And so when you came back with scissors, that was the 5th one. So I saw the S in the beginning and the S at the end and I read stamps, but guys, the eyesight's going. So, oh, Melanie did bring some pumpkins with her. Awesome. Okay. So Judy Immel says cardstock, glue, stamps. So yeah, you kind of need some blocks with some of your stamps, but you don't necessarily need blocks if you have wood stamps. So blocks I wouldn't say are a requirement, but yes, you guys got it. So it's inks, stamps, paper, adhesives, and cutting tools, right? Those are the 5 core things, okay? And I'll go into those in just a second. But I want to tell you what a paper crafter is. You guys might get a little chuckle out of this because I've always enjoyed talking about this with people. And I'm going to read a little bit off of my sheet. I really do have a PowerPoint presentation that I have printed off. And you guys, the date on here, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see here. May 10th of 2016. This paper has been with me printed for 5 years. Okay. So what is a paper crafter? A paper crafter is anyone who stamps, creates, memory books, like scrapbooks, or uses paper in any way at all to create gifts, art, home decor, and so on. So All of us are paper crafters. And I was a more of a stamp paper craft. I was more of a stamp. I loved the stamps the most. But over the last maybe 5 years, I've transitioned to be a paper lover. When I see a new pack of designer series paper, it's like, oh my gosh, it gets me going. Like, it gets this girl excited. The smell of new paper, the feel of like the foil in it, and so I've turned into a paper crafter. So there are 4 aspects of being a paper crafter. Okay, so you're gonna get a little chuckle out of this. So 1 is somebody who buys and uses paper, inks, stamps, and the works. Okay, so you're using it, right? That's what a paper crafter, that's one aspect. So another aspect of being a paper crafter is you collect paper, inks, stamps, and the works. So you buy things, but you don't always use them. Maybe you like them and you look at them and you collect them. Everybody has that collector gene in them. And being a stamper, it makes it really easy to collect things. So Anne has a paper addiction just like me. I love it. So hi, Julie. Hi, Vicki. So thanks for joining. Okay, so you could collect it. There's another aspect of being a paper crafter. So if you love to organize, reorganize, or just look at your paper, inks, stamps, and the works, like that's another aspect. So you just love to organize. So you buy things and you love to get them out and just look at how pretty they look in a row. Like, so you guys saw my hive and in previous videos here or there, maybe you haven't, some of you have, some of you haven't, but I have everything nicely organized, okay? So I too am I buy it and use it. I'm a collector, but I also love to organize and just have it so nicely displayed, okay? And then there's one more aspect of being a paper crafter is that you love to browse blogs, Facebook, YouTube, and Pinterest for inspirational ideas on how you might use your paper, ink, stamps, and the work. So that's me too. So I am all 4 aspects of these. Hang on, itchy eye. I don't spend oodles of time on Pinterest. I find that I browse through previous classes of cards that I've had for other classes, and I get my inspiration of casing swaps and my own cards. But I tell you, the first thing I do when I'm starting to sit down to design and create with a new stamp set is I go to Pinterest and I look up the name of that stamp set and Stampin' Up on the back end of that description, and I search Pinterest, and then I'll also do it in Facebook as well. So you find a birthday fiesta stamp set on the matching DSP. Now you've got to use it. Yes, that birthday fiesta set was awesome with the llama in it. I love it. So yes, Anne is guilty of all those things. Feline has so much DSP. Yes. So those are the 4 aspects of being a paper crafter. I am a girl of all of those things. But I'm going to tell you a little clue here. Like, you are most likely to sit down and craft if your stuff is set up and ready to go. So many times people tell me they don't have the space to do it, and they're having all their stuff in totes and tucked away, and then when the kids go or the husband goes, then they can pull it out and set it on the dining room table, but then they've got to clear it all and put it back. And that makes it hard to stamp or create or craft or make things, because it's a lot of work to pull that out and put it back. And so I think that you're more inclined to craft if you have a little dedicated space to it. And you might not have the room in your house or your apartment or wherever you live to do that, but the better chances of making more things in your time here in this crazy life is if you have the space dedicated to it. You want to make sure it's cleaned up. I can tell you, before I became a demonstrator, I loved creating cards and making, but I found if my desk space or my area where I was crafting wasn't clean, I found myself spending more time cleaning than crafting. I felt that I needed to make it all pretty and nice so I could find the things that I want, and then I would create. And by the time you're done doing that, you don't have time to create and craft, okay? So if you're a beginner just starting out, those are some key things that you need to think about is, can you find some space to dedicate to being a crafter or a creator of product, your cards or paper or memory keeping stuff, scrapbooks, and can you keep it cleaned up and organized? Because that is the time cruncher right there. So what does Sandy say? I think I have cardstock in the very first color Stampin' Up! Had. You know what? You got me beat then, because Stampin' Up! First was launched. They became a business in 1988. So they're at 34 years. I think they're going to celebrate their 35th anniversary. And I started stamping using Stampin' Up! Stuff in 2001. So I think I had forest foliage and baroque burgundy were two of my favorite colors because I started off making Christmas cards. So the other thing, like Melanie just said, she did not clean. She just found another table. There you go. So, it's just finding the time and the space to craft and create is going to be a thing. You're not going to feel like you wasted money on supplies if you use them. So when I do my mystery card making with you guys, that's what my #1 goal is. I do that as a free class. I want you guys to use what you have. I don't care what the brand is. Just use it. Pull out that paper you've been hoarding, collecting. I hate the word hoarding, okay? That was a joke. Like, collect. We are all collectors, right? So we don't hoard things. We collect and organize. And so use that stuff you have. Find that stamp set that you haven't used and it's not put together. Put that puppy together and use it, okay? So Danny's been using Stampin' Up! Since you started in 1998. So you have me beat by a few years. So, okay, so we talked about supplies that you need. So there were 5 core things. Stamps, different types of stamps. And I'm going to pull my camera down so you guys can see the different stamps. I know you can't read this, but I'm using it as a guideline. So stamps, you have 3 different types: wood, clear, and photopolymer. So you guys might recognize these. This is what you'll find at most used stamp sales are wood-mounted stamps. And so by wood, they are literally mounted on wood. Stampin' Up! No longer sells wood-mounted stamps. This is the first catalog that I believe since they started that doesn't have any wood stamp sets. Last year they transitioned out and then they had some wood background stamps, but this year I think they even got rid of those. So you used to have to, back in the day, cut the red rubber and then mount them and put them together with the sticker on. So what sucks about these is that they're heavy. This weighs a lot. The wood costs money. And so over time, people didn't want to store, so this case right here, when they transitioned to these cases, it is double the amount of space versus the red rubber. It's heavier and bulkier, and the wood costs money. So these were more expensive. Danny organized all of her DSP and was feeling pretty good. Then later found an organizer with more DSP. Oh no, and then you got to reorganize. Feline since 1995. Wow, that's awesome. So this is wood stamps. You needed to put them together. It was a lot of work. They really went away from these, but you still find them. There's nothing wrong with them. If you can find yourself a cool looking red rubber stamp set at a used stamp sale sometime and you just love it, get it. It's probably only $2 because nobody wants these anymore. I have my used stamp sale, people don't buy these unless this is $2, or $3. More than $5, people don't buy them. The thing about red rubber on the block is that you can't see where you're stamping. So depending on how, Anne's gonna come to, oh man, who said that they had? Anne replied to Danny's message. Okay, got it. So Anne's going to Danny's house. I love it. So with the wooden block, you can't see where you're stamping. You're guessing. So they had a stamp-a-majig that you could use. You could just eyeball it and guess. So that's what wood stamps are all about. Then they kind of transitioned to having these red rubber stamps that are called, they were just called cling, but then, which means that they have a sticker on them. So if you get these, they're less expensive, they take up less room, but you would need to invest in a set of these clear acrylic blocks. And Stampin' Ups are nice because they're thick, they're about at least a ½ inch. I don't even know where my ruler went. I can't see it. So they're at least maybe 5/8. Yeah, Stampin' Party, you guys. So what happens then is you get yourself some blocks. So you can see here, I've already got different blocks set out on my stamps. You could start off with one of each size block. That'll get you by. But eventually, it's good to have a few of the more common sizes so that you don't have to keep swapping them all the time. So initial investment is a little bit because you have to get clear acrylic blocks. But all in all, the stamp sets are less costly than the wood-mounted stamps. And so that's what the red, so this is called red rubber right here. So then they have another stamp type called photopolymer. Photopolymer is just completely see-through. So when you put it on one of these blocks, You can see exactly where you're stamping. It's even less costly, or it's more cost effective than the red rubber. And what's awesome is that the main thing is you can see right through it. So many times you stamp things crooked or bad because you can't see where you're stamping. So those are the 3 different types of stamps. You have the wood block, you have rubber, red rubber, and then photopolymer. All in all, as long as you like the images, buy the stamp sets, because as long as you're stamping with something that you like, or you have something that you like to use, you're going to be more inclined to use it. So regardless, so that's just a little bit about stamps. One of the other things that you need to be making cards is paper. So there's a plethora of different types of paper that you can get. Cardstock all has different weights to them. Like the heavier the weight, the thicker the cardstock. And so Stampin' Up! Has a different set of cardstock weights. They have a vanilla and a white that are less weight, and then they're better for mats, for like your inside mats or stamping on, and then cutting out your focal image. Their colored cardstock, I want to guess, is about 80 pounds, but then they also have a thick vanilla and a thick white. Use what you love, Melanie said. Exactly. Just always use whatever you love. You know, hi Kay. So basically cardstock. You need paper to put cards together. And when you go into, I'm going to flip down, guys. So in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, if you go to the back is where they have different types of paper. And Stampin' Up! Has theirs organized by color family. So you get different regals, brights, neutrals, and subtles. And so all the cardstock is here. And the cardstock is what I use primarily for all of the different bases and then different mats. And so that's cardstock. But then in addition with paper, you have decorative paper, which is called, we call it designer series paper, but you also could call it pattern paper. And Melanie mentioned maybe 10 minutes ago that she makes her own designer series paper. So that's with just taking stamps and creating a background. So designer series paper, Stampin' Up! Sells is 12 by 12, 6 by 6. It's double-sided. You can go to other stores in different crafting places and find different types of paper. And again, there's different weights and thicknesses. Sometimes you'll find that the paper is thinner and only having a pattern on one side. Well, this has patterns on both sides and it's really thick. There's another type, there's all these specialty papers that you can delve into with glitter on them or vellum. And then there's window sheets, there's watercolor paper, there's shimmery white paper, craft cardstock, and then all in all, you need some envelopes. And envelopes are part of paper, so if you're going to be giving cards out, it's nice to put them in an envelope. And so they have the envelopes, which are considered part of the paper family as well. So when it comes to making cards, they refer to the cards that we make in here in the United States as an A2 size. So when you have a sheet of paper, it's primarily 8.5 by 11, and when you cut that in half, either vertically or horizontally, we call the vertical cut, making it a hot dog style, and the horizontal cut, if your paper is going up and down, if you do it horizontal, you have the hamburger style. And so when you fold that in half and you get a quarter of a piece of paper, that's referred to as an A2 size card. And so when you're buying envelopes, you know, if you're making an A2 size card, you want to get the A2 size envelope. I believe there's A1, A3, A7, so there's note card size, like 3.5 by 5. There's also 5 by 7, and so each one of those. And if I don't know them all off the top of my head, guys, just Google it. Ask the Google for help if you want to know some sizes and names of papers. But the most common one is A2, and that's 4.5 by 5.5. Oh my gosh, my PowerPoint has it right here. A1 is 3.5 by 4 7/8, or 5, I think. There's A6. A7 is a 5 by 7. And I see people bring or send me A7 cards, 5 by 7s. The skinny cards, whatever size business envelope you have, that's what size you can make that. There's also a square size. So just know in the States, you guys, if you're making a square card, postage is extra on a square card. So I generally stay away from square cards unless they're 4 by 4. And then you can put a 4 by 4 card into a regular A2 envelope. Jeannie's got stamps going back to the mid-90s. Yep. I looked at mine. The wood stamps that I have that are in the old clamshell case are far and few between. I think I'm down to about 20 sets if that, and that's all contained in one box. And I just don't have the heart to let them go because they're like more classic stamp sets that Stampin' Up! Had way back in the early 2000s. So I have like a pirate ship and I have a stopwatch and more guy sets, I think, because they don't generally put a lot of guy sets or like manly man card sets in the catalog. They have a lot of girly girl stuff. So, but you know what? Guys don't send people, like, if you think about who sends cards in this day and age, I'm taking a bold guess that 75% of the people that send cards are women, and they send them to women. So I think, and then I could be off my rocker on that, but honestly, like, women send cards to women, I think. And I'm not saying that guys don't get cards or give cards, but I think that's why they gear a lot of stamp sets to women. Just my educated guess. So, but I don't know if I ever figure out how to use it. Oh my gosh. Okay, Danny, you just talked about using a stamp-a-majig. Okay, so I have the stamp-a-majig right here. I keep it handy. So let me get going, and then if you send me a reminder in here, then I will try to show you how to use it, because it's good to be able to know how to use the stamp-a-majig, especially if you guys are still using your wood blocks. So Sandy has 2 bookcases full of wood stamps. So yeah, it just happens. We have wood stamps because that's what we had, and we don't like to get rid of them because we use them. Okay, so we talked about stamps. We talked about paper. Let's talk about ink. So there's different types of ink as well. And in a nutshell, you have dye ink, which is used to add color, and it's usually water-based. You have pigment ink, which is like a gooier ink, and you also have permanent inks. And so, hey Pablo, I see it says that you're watching. Long time no see, guy. So different types of ink. So I'm gonna flip back down and show you guys these colors. So what's awesome sauce about Stampin' Up! Is how everything coordinates. Their cardstock matches their inks, matches their markers, matches their embellishments and their ribbons, their designer series paper. Everything coordinates so cohesively. Hi, Deanna Style. Everything coordinates. And so their inks, they have all the different color inks here, including, there's 2 blacks, I'll talk about them in a second, and a white. And then they also have Versamark. And so these inks here are water-based. So these kinds right here that I have are water-based. If you get them on your fingers, it may not come off right away. You can wash your hair or do the dishes, and then the ink comes off really nicely. Poor Joanne was here at class yesterday, and the ink pad landed right under her boob, and it made an ink pad mark, and it was cherry cobbler on her. She had like a Bermuda Bay shirt on, and yup, she walked out with that proud ink stain. And so I'm very hopeful. Where Julie Gillen got a black ink pad on her khaki pants. If it's water-based, it should generally wash out because it's water-based. If you're using water-based inks, that they work good with alcohol markers for coloring. Where if you're using a permanent ink, then you want to use, so a permanent ink is perfect for coloring with aqua painters, or the blend, that there's a blender pen that you use with water, with the inks. Basically, a permanent ink pad is used with like alcohol. A permanent ink pad is used with water-based coloring tools, and a water-based ink pad is used with permanent type markers and coloring tools. So that you need the opposite. So when it comes to inks, you have the water-based, which are good with alcohol markers. There's permanent ink. And so I'm going to flip down and show you in here where the inks are on page 129. So Stampin' Up! Has 2 black inks, a permanent memento, permanent stays on, and a memento black. So stays on, just what it says, it stays on. It is a permanent black ink pad. Memento is a water-based ink pad. If you're just starting out, you will probably start and be geared towards the memento. And then when you start doing more things with these the aqua painters, just like their water markers, or doing colored pencil coloring where you want to add water to them, the permanent ink is going to be great for that kind of stuff. So the other thing that's in here is something called Versamark. Versamark is your pigment pad. Versamark is a really ooey gooey ink pad that you use when you want to do embossing. And so there's embossing powders here. They have different colors. And so what you would do is you would stamp with your Versamark, you'd sprinkle the embossing powders on, shake off, and then wherever that stamped image is, they stay. Then you use the heat tool and it will melt. So what embossing is, it's these little powders are tiny pieces of plastic pellets, super granule, and they stick where you stamped. And then when you heat it up, it melts and it makes it shiny. And I've done that on a couple classes. So that's what you need, a pigment pad for that, which is a gooey pad. Stampin' Up! Also has a white craft pad, which you could also use. It's really cool to use a white craft pad with copper embossing powder. It looks like rose gold. It's super pretty. So the white ink pad is also more of a pigment pad. Yeah. So Danny just said she used the StazOn on her ceramic tiles to make coasters. Super cool. You got it. That's perfect. Okay, so I get the question more often than not about why does Stampin' Up! Not have a black classic stamp pad? Why do they have StazOn and why do they have Memento? So I've been around the block with Stampin' Up! Long enough to, I think, understand the rationale. And if you guys have been with them for many years too, you might recall that they had a Stampin' Up! Black archival pad and they had a Stampin' Up! Black classic pad. So the archival meaning for archiving things, so more permanent in nature, and then the classic was the water-based. They could not get that formula right to save their soul, from what I recall, because whenever you used it on the paper, it smeared. It did not dry successfully, and then it also turned purpley. So I just think that they went with something that was tried and true, and so they have relationships with the StazOn, you know, and they Versamark, that's what they supply for their black ink pads. Okay, so Memento, StazOn. If you're a beginner just starting out, another great color to have in your arsenal would be an espresso. They have early espresso, which is a brown color, because then you have your black is for your cools and your espresso is for your neutrals. So we talked briefly about embossing and watercoloring. So that's where you need your Versamark pad. And then coloring tools. You could use water-based markers. You could use stamp and blend. So water-based markers you'd use with the StazOn, and the blends you use with the Memento. So you can also get a lot of ink refills for every color that they have, and so that you can keep your pads lasting a lot longer. You guys, I will tell you, if you're first starting out and you don't feel the need to get ink refills, think again and consider getting them. When I first started stamping, I never bought refills. 20 years ago, I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my money on refills. I'm not gonna spend that. Back then, refills were $1.95. They were cheap can be. I mean, like, they're $3.75, so they've almost doubled in 20 years. And I unfortunately have gotten rid of most of my ink pads from back then because I never bought the refills. Had I bought the refills back then, I could re-ink those ink pads and they would still work really good. And because I didn't get the refills, they dry out over time. They're water-based. And so I'm looking at mine right now. I have every refill. So especially with doing classes, you're not going to have that issue with as much with just if it's you using your supplies. But I find myself re-inking stuff because you keep stamping with that same ink pad. Ink leaves the ink pad. You need to replace it to have it looking crisp and nice. Okay, so this might be like the most I go in depth with this class for like learning. I hope you guys are getting something out of this. We'll see. Okay, you can how to ink up your stamps. So when people are first learning to stamp, I feel like I see that they're afraid of stamping and they don't get good images and they might rock their stamps and get halos and they might get discouraged because it doesn't look good. Yes, Feline always buys the refill when she buys a stamp pad. Absolutely. That's a good rule to have. So I tell people when they're stamping for the first time to just not be afraid of it and just hold on to the block. The main thing is to ink it up good and go straight down and straight up. And I'll talk about that, I think, more when we are doing the stamping. You want to not rock your stamp, and I'll talk about that again while we're doing the stamping. When you're done using your stamps, you guys, clean them. before you put them away. Like that's another little thing that I find that sometimes people don't clean them and they put them away and then they're dirty the next time they go to use them and then they don't remember that. So always clean your stamps. And you guys see me cleaning my stamps all the time throughout every class. And so I think you've got the general drill on cleaning. You can also use different things for coloring, including sponges, sponge sprayers, the blending brushes, blending pens, aqua painters, the Stampin' Spritzer. There's sprayers out there, so there's lots of ways that you can put color onto your cards. All right, we talked about cutting tools as well. So cutting tools. When you get a sheet of paper, what do you got to do with it? You have to cut it down to size. And so primarily, you're going to use a cutting board to do that. You guys have seen me. I did a Tip Tuesday on paper, how to cut paper down. And so I use a guillotine cutter is what my personal preference is. Stampin' Up! Has a paper trimmer. So if you're just starting out, hi Bonnie, Kelly. When you're first starting out, you would probably consider getting something like this to do your cutting. So it's got this thing, this arm lifts up and then you line your paper up. There's a little arm here that you can go out up to 17 inches this way. And it also can be used, so cutting and then also scoring. So cutting and scoring on this little tool right here. So that's one thing, but then you're also gonna need some scissors, right? Skizzers. Stampin' Up! Calls them snips. You guys see me using, I have one for ribbon, one for glue, and one for paper. The glue one is gooey. The paper one is not as sharp as the ribbon, and the ribbon is the one, keep your hands off, and unless you're using it for a ribbon or you might get your hair pulled, okay? So that's what you use for different cutting tools. I wouldn't pull your hair, I promise. It's just a joke. Okay, so then the other thing is adhesives. You guys, I think if you've been watching me for a while, you know I use a multitude of different types of adhesives depending on what I'm putting on and where I'm putting it. Sometimes I combine one thing to have different types of adhesives. And so you just need to be comfortable with the adhesive you're using. Some people hate liquid glue because they get it everywhere and then it gets glue on their project and it's a hot sticky mess of adhesive. Some people hate the tape runners because they just can't get them to operate. So you have to find what's best for you. But all in all, the snail, we used to have something called snail, now it's Stampin' Seal. It's like a mono-adhesive tape runner type thing. That is pretty much interchangeable with liquid glue. And I've been converting a lot of people to using liquid glue. I think Sandy Wicklander just said the other day, she did all of her swap cards with the liquid glue and it was a lot faster and just, I think you probably use less. I think out of one bottle of glue, you could probably glue together at least 50 cards, potentially even more. I don't know. I've never done the math and figured it out, but when your glue is almost empty, you can always get 20 more cards. I promise. You just put it between your legs, get it warmed up, and then it makes the glue more liquefied because it's warmed up, and you get 20 more cards. Promise you. Naughty Nancy has a name for that kind of glue, and if she's watching this, she will chime in and tell you what kind of name she has for that glue. So the other thing is dimensionals that you want to use on your cards. I love popping things up. I've always been a popper. Oh, Jeannie got switched over. I love it. Perfect. Hi, Mary Harnicky. Hi, Leah. So Stampin' Dimensionals are awesome if you like to see dimension on your cards. Stampin' Up! Has mini ones. They have large ones. And then they also have black and mini and large. So yes, the tape runner dries out on the card. So that's a good point on that. Flipping right back to the tape runner. I learned that like at least 10 years ago, that when I have cards, I don't always send them out right away. And I would be going through my stockpile cards and stuff. The layers would be coming apart because tape runner sucks. It really does. Now, Stampin' Up! Has the Stampin' Seal Plus and Stampin' Seal. Someday I'll do a test and I will use liquid glue on one card and I will use the tape runner on another card, and like in 2 years or half a year or whatever, a period of time, we'll see if it falls off. But that's exactly what it comes down to though. Like what Ann said is that the liquid glue is a craft glue that Stampin' Up! Sells. I call it the green glue. The green glue is this one. It's got a green top and a bottom. I usually keep it in one of these stands so that the glue always is at the tip of the pointy end. I never, in my wildest ever dreams, will ever use this end. It's just, to me, I don't know what it's even there for, because I don't know. Somebody might use it to smear the glue around more, but I always use the fine tip. And I wish that this flat end was on this end, but it's not. So that's why we have these things that hold our glue for us. So there's also another Tombow glue that has blue caps and is clear in the middle, and it's a clear glue. That is not good. If you guys are using it, I promise you, you'll be happier with this. The clear with the blue is water-based glue. So your cards will warp as time passes. Once they're dry, it like warps the card, where this does not warp your cards. So there's a little bit about the liquid glue. Dimensionals, again, popping things up. We talked about that. Tear and tape. You guys, I use tear and tape a lot. It is my double-sided tape. I stopped buying double-sided tape from the craft store when I realized as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator that I can get mine at a discount and it is better than double-sided tape. I can rip off versus having to do that thing. I always cut myself on Scotch tape runners. So I just love the tear and tape. You can cut it, you can rip it, you can use it as single-sided tape, you can use it as double-sided tape. And it's permanent. It is great for 3D projects and for putting your ribbon sandwiches, your tails to your ribbons behind. We talked about the Stampin' Seal Plus, which is a very permanent tape runner. Stampin' Up! Also has this fine tip glue pen. It like people use it for putting embellishments on. I have a hard time with it because it's such a little picky little thing up here. You gotta get this needle thing right exactly lined up, and watch, I'm gonna try to do it and now I can't get it. Yep, I got it. But it's for putting embellishments on. But you guys, I think I've got you guys shown that you can use liquid glue or you can use glue dots to put embellishments on. So the other is the mini glue dots. So we just talked about, like, glue dots are perfect for embellishments or putting ribbons on. Another thing that Stampin' Up! Doesn't sell, but I use quite religiously, is something, if you watched me doing my July monthly card making class, you saw I put ribbon or glue somewhere where I wasn't supposed to. I use an adhesive eraser. This little thing is like a few bucks on Amazon. Get it, have it, use it. It gets adhesive off of places where you don't want adhesive, and you just go in little circles with it and it'll take the adhesive off. Okay, so that's all the different 5 core things that you really kind of need, and it seems like a lot, especially if you're a beginner just starting out, that like, where do you start? So if anybody ever needs help, if you're just starting out and you don't know what to get first, what you truly need to have, just reach out to me. I love helping people get started stamping. There's no greater joy than watching somebody make their first card and sharing cards with their family and friends, and it's just awesome. So just reach out if you're unsure. And you don't have, especially if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. If you have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator that you're working with and you're supporting her, she should be supporting you, okay? But if you don't have anybody that you're working with, I would love to help and support you and teach you all these different things about stamping and how you can be creative. So there's other things that you can definitely pull into making cards beautiful, and but when you're starting out, you're not gonna have all that extra money to stamp, invest in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, punches. The bone folder is another thing that you could add, a scoring tool. I'm just going through my list here. There's a bunch of different things that you can use to glorify your cards with ribbons and embellishments, but you gotta stop and draw the line somewhere and just get what you need to get going. Yeah, Feline doesn't like the fine tip glue pen. Me neither. It dries and the tip gets blah. Yep, blah, blah. That's how we feel about that. So, all right. You guys, I rambled on about stamping for beginners for 50 minutes. And so I think it's time to make some beginner cards, which they're not crazy, but we're going to kind of go through them. I did have some other final notes on here about techniques and different types of cards. So just in a nutshell, for beginners, there's different things that you can do to cards to make them awesome. The heat embossing, you could do watercoloring, the sponging, brayering, masking, multi-step stamping, baby wipe technique. There's movement cards, there's fun folds. There's so many different cards and styles that you can make. And that's what taking classes with demonstrators can help you do, is to see all these. I mean, I've been doing online classes now since March 23rd of last year. Over a year and a year and a half, something like it feels like a year and a half. You guys, if you're ever wanting to learn about how to do anything, all you have to do is go back to my video section in my Facebook page, and you can watch till you fall asleep every night. And you'll learn a lot. anybody who's watching me that has been watching me for a while will know that you will learn a lot of tips and tricks by watching my videos. So Vanessa loves heat embossing. Heat embossing got me started stamping 20 years ago. So there are tips that I want to tell you really quick too. And sometimes I say these throughout my lives, but there's tips for stamping. So stamp an image on a scrap piece of paper before stamping it onto your cardstock that you really want to use. You guys, you see that I have scrap paper and I stamp things, and I want to make sure that the stamps where I want it or how I want it to. So always practice your stamping before you go to your cardstock. Just remember there's usually 2 sides of paper to every piece of paper. Sometimes not with pattern paper that has just sometimes that's not always true, but just know most of the time, if you don't like the way, hi Sherry Martin, most of the time that you don't like the way it's stamped, you can flip it over and re-stamp it. I talked about this when I talked about scissors, but a tip is to have 3 different scissors for your glue, ribbon, and paper. That's an important thing. Don't forget to stamp the envelope. So when you're stamping your focal images on your cards, don't forget to stamp your insides and your envelopes. Saving snibbles. So when you're cutting paper down to size and you get little snibbles, don't throw that stuff away. I always save things if it's about 1 inch or bigger, because I might get a star out of that. I might get other things out of that. So just don't throw away your scraps. Try to save them if you can. Hi, Anna Rabidou. Layering. A general good rule of thumb is if you're layering, oh my gosh, Sandy Wicklander sent this to me. So when you are layering, so proportional matting for cards, a 5.5 by 4 1/4 card. You guys could take a screenshot of this if you want, but she sent this to me, and then I saved it here just in case anybody ever asked while I was live. But generally it's taking a 1/4 inch off each mat, and that gives you really good proportional matting. A 1/4 inch. I sneak in here 1/16 of an inch, and I know that doesn't really appeal to people, but I feel like my mats look awesome when I do 3/16 instead of a 1/4. So 3/16 is slightly less than a 1/4 inch. So okay, so matting is an important thing. You guys like the schnibbles. My dad called down a waitress one time in the restaurant. We had gotten a plate of onion rings, and there was all the crispies on the bottom, which are schnibbles. And she picked up the plate and was 3 feet away before my dad realized that she took the plate of schnibbles. And he called her back and said, "Bring those schnibbles back. I want to eat them." So the schnibbles, they're like little pieces. So, okay. The other thing too for beginners that are just getting started is kits. Kits are an awesome way to get you crafting and creating, but having a limited number of supplies is that you can put those together and get more comfortable with your card making by putting kits together. And Stampin' Up! Offers, I think, about 10 different kits now. So if you're looking for recommendations on that too, I can help you guys. All right. Was that okay? I don't feel like I've ever done something that in depth in a Facebook Live class with you guys before. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, Judy Kruger. So I hope that so Judy said she learned some new folds with me. So you guys, I try to always be completely transparent about stuff and teach you, be honest with you, try to coach you, just help you learn, because if you're successful, then you're going to keep stamping, and I want you to stamp with me. So, okay, here's another little thing I'm going to pop down. This is something I've had for maybe since 2008, 7, 6, 5, I don't know, somewhere. I bought this little bag many years ago, and I call this my toolbox, quote unquote toolbox. You know, guys have their toolboxes, girls can have toolboxes too. So I have a brand new Stella I need to use when I get my other one done. I have my paper, glue, scissors, got my bone folder. This is a hot mess. I don't like to have compartments, I guess, because I just want to be able to see, I don't know. So I got my glue dots, I got dimensionals, I got my tear and tape. I put my adhesive eraser in a little baggie, otherwise it gets full of glitter and dirt. I got a spoon for if I need to re-ink ink pads. I've got an aqua painter, a blender pen. I've got a silver marker. I've got a clothespin. I've got my, you guys, I have to show you this. This is not Stampin' Up, but this is my first scissors I bought in 2001. When I first started stamping, I can remember buying it, and this is my glue scissors as like a secondary glue scissors. I will never get rid of this, and I don't care that I show you this. I have a non-stamp. I had stuff before Stampin' Up, so this one is my first scissors. So I keep it with me. I have a highlighter for marking my catalog, a sponge. I have a pencil sharpener. I have washi tape. I have a sponge dauber. I have my take your pick tool. I have a spritzer in here. I have my ribbon scissors, a Stamp-A-Ma-Jig that has a glue dot on it. Let's get that off of there. Liquid glue. I have a ruler. And I have a black and a gray marker, black and a brown marker, a tweezers, a pen. So this is my toolbox. It is full of everything I need. So I'm going over to a friend's house later to talk about our camping trip tonight. I'm bringing cards to work on because I'm a multitasker at heart. I have this ready with me all the time. So I don't forget anything. I have my toolbox ready to go, like a to-go toolbox. Then I also have at my station where I stamp upstairs, I have the exact same stuff all up there, and I have all the same stuff here. I have 3 sets of that stuff, guys. So I never steal from one thing to the other. When something runs out, I replace it with a brand new something or other, and so I'm not lost when I am somewhere else working and I don't have it. So that's another tip. If you find that you are like limited, like that you travel and go to classes, get yourself your own little set. Like gradually work up so that you have a double set, and you'll never regret it, because I've had that double set for carrying one, because I go everywhere and I create and I craft, you guys. Like I can't not be stamping. So okay, you guys. Hi Kathy, back. Okay, we're gonna do the Let's Just Stamp card class. I already did roll call for that when we first started, so I think by now most people are ready to stamp. So the class that we're doing today is the Blossoms in Bloom. So when Diane and I picked out the stamp sets for this class and all the ones going forward through December, which we have them all picked out, they're on my class schedule, we tried to pick out stamp sets that you could use that had sentiments in them. They have matching dies or a punch occasionally, or most of the time actually, but you don't need that die set or punch to make the cards that we're doing for class. So you just literally need the stamp set. And we're trying to pick stamp sets that are all inclusive, that you don't even need to buy another stamp set, because the ones that we picked have a focal image and they have words with them. So, but flip down, you guys can see here that this is the Blossoms in Bloom stamp set. And we're gonna be making these 4 cards actually. Right here, and hopefully I have everything set up. You guys, we designed these cards over a month ago. It was the beginning of June, I think, and so we chose bright colors: Bermuda Bay, purple is Highland Heather, Melon Mambo. So we wanted bright, cheerful cards with this flower set, and we tried to use almost all the stamps in here. I think we didn't use maybe these 2 little baby flowers, and we didn't use all the sentiments, but we used this big stamp and all the little ones. And so we're going to start with this card first. This is the first card we made, and then we'll work up to these 2 pink ones, and we'll do the purple one second. So you guys that got kits for me, again, if you are interested in taking this class with me, I still have kits left. I think I said I had 7 left. So I always like to share with you where we got our inspiration from if I have a card to show you. So this is a card I got in a swap. I can't actually remember who I got it from. The tape is off of here. It was not mine. I promise you I didn't make this, but it just goes to show you where you can get your ideas from. This card looks nothing like this except for the layout, right? And they did die cutting with you can't see it so much, but there's stitching around these, and we didn't do that. We kept it so that there's no die cutting. But we used the general concept of creating our own background. So we made a background with stamps. We stamped this. So Melanie Foy mentioned earlier that she created her own designer paper. This is exactly what creating your own designer paper looks like. You could use this as a background, which is what we did. Bringing in a little ribbon, it sounded like ribbit, a little ribbon and a diamond. And so this is our first kit that we're card that we're gonna make. So just to show you an idea, like how you can completely see the layout for a card and then change it to have what you use. Or I should say use what you have. All right, so we have here a Bermuda Bay base. So this is the thicker cardstock. It's 8.5 by, you guys, was class supposed to start at 4 or 5 today? I just saw a notification pop up that said that the event started at 5. I could have sworn that class was at 4 today. Huh, we'll have to figure that out afterwards. I may have started an hour early, I'm not sure. So anyways, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25. So to do scoring, so if you guys are wondering, I always use, I'm gonna pull it out so you can see it. Stampin' Up! Has something called a scoring tool. Such a clever name for it. And what I use this every time. It's a big board that you can use for scoring. It has these little markers, and I just put your paper in and I score it just like that. And it's every 1/8 of an inch. Hi, Luann Johnson. So that's how I score. It's awesome. So when you cut the paper this way, you don't necessarily have to score. It'll still fold nicely, but if you cut yours vertically like that, paper has a grain to it. And so you'll get these little ripples in the paper if you have it the hot dog style and don't have it scored. People ask me a lot, and you guys can put your 2 cents in when I see the comments. It'll be funny to see, but people ask me, which way do you score it? Sorry, which way do you fold it? So this made a little divot. So you have a valley, and on this side you have a mountain. People ask, well, which way should you fold it? I honestly, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm folding it this way, they meet perfectly. And sometimes when I'm folding it this way, they don't meet perfectly. So then I'll flip it back over and I'll score it the other, or fold it the other way. It doesn't matter unless, the only thing that matters is that you cut your paper straight and that your corners line up. So when you're folding this, I try to get my corners to be perfectly aligned, and then I hold them here, and then you can use your finger just like I did, but honestly, a bone folder is the perfect tool to burnish the edges. It just gives the corner or this edge here, fold into the mountain. So Feline says you fold into the mountain, and I don't remember what I did. We'll have to look on the other one. Fold into the mountain. So we'll see. Honestly, to me, I fold them both ways and they turn out fine each way. So burnishing it is what's most smoother fold on the outside. So I don't know what I did, because now that it's folded, I can't tell. I think that was the mountain was on the inside. So fold into the mountain. I think, so my mountain is here. You can see that there's more of a bump. So yeah. Anyways, so you've got that burnished, and now in your kit, you also have a piece of white that's 4 by 5.25. So that's a traditional mat. And in this one, we're gonna stamp some flowers in the bottom corner. And then you guys also have some of this pattern paper. I watched a video that Tim Holtz said, fold into the mountain. Okay, well, Tim Holtz is a pretty professional crafter. I would trust his judgment. So Feline says fold into the mountain. So you've got here a piece of pattern paper that is 2 by 5.25. So this is from the Pattern Party Designer paper. That's going to get layered there. Then you guys each have, hi Jean Benson, you have a piece of basic white that gets matted onto Daffodil Delight. And then you have a scrap here, kind of just for a sentiment of basic white, and then some Bermuda Bay. And that's basically what we've got for paper. So, but what we need to do is get our stamping done. So when you're using photopolymer stamps, they do not have any foam. Here's a good point here. So when you have the wood stamp with the red rubber, there's foam there. That foam is cushion to help give you a nice crisp image. The same thing is on the red rubber cling. There's foam there. Oh, I always don't know if I should say this or not, but it's a joke, guys, so laugh with me. But that foam provides the extra cushion for the pushin', right? Okay, that helps to give you a nice crisp stamped image. Hi Stacy Burns. Hi Michelle. When you have a photopolymer stamp, there's no foam, so it's not very cushiony. So that's why I always pull this piercing mat out, so that it provides the extra cushion for your stamped image to be nice and crisp and smooth, okay? So this is a piercing mat that Stampin' Up! Has. It's $5. It's a good investment. They also, you could use a mouse pad too if you want. That's quite all right. Basically, you just need like lots of layers of paper would also be good. That's fine. So I'm going to pull in Bermuda Bay, which is the matching color for this cardstock. And what you can do is you're going to create your background. I got to put this over here so I don't lose it. So you're going to create your background. So when you're stamping and you stamp one, so you ink up and you stamp, that's called first strength. When you stamp it again, that's called second strength and third and fourth, and eventually there's hardly any ink. Some people refer to these as generations, first generation, second generation, third and fourth, like generation's a lot to say, so I say strength. So what we're doing is we're stamping first strength, second strength. You can do first, second, third. And I'm doing random here. So I did 2 darker ones. Now I'm going to come over here and do a darker one. And then I might do a dark light. I don't care about underneath where the paper is going to get layered. What I care about is stamping in the area that is going to be seen. And so this is creating called like a background image. And so first, second, third, however you want to do it, it's completely your call. Don't try to make it look so consistent, I guess. Make it look like they're more random. I guess that's what I like to see. So I'm not trying to put all the dark ones. Hi, Deb Norman. I'm not trying to put all the dark ones next to each other and all the light ones next to each other. So before you keep going, has a mouse pad in the supplies for demonstrators. Yes. So Sandy Wicklander has said that in the demonstrator stamp set, or there's for demonstrators to go in the supply store, there's a Stampin' Up! Mouse pad. It looks like this actually. I use it too, but I use it for my mouse. So that works perfectly fine too. So if you're a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you put a demonstrator order in, you can order this. I think it's $5 as well. So, all right, so now what you're gonna do is test to make sure that you've covered all of the area that's gonna get covered up. And this is gonna be perfect. So, see that? I don't care about that. That gets covered up. And now that you have your blue ink or your Bermuda Bay, go ahead and stamp your corner here. Hi, Vicki Fritz from Indiana. So this is going to go right in the corner like that. So when you're done stamping, I always stamp off to get as much ink off as possible. And then you go to your, this is a chamois. Stampin' Up! Sells these as well. And you just clean this. You could also use a scrub or a wet wipe. I generally stay away from wet wipes with cleaning my stamps because they leave little white filaments. Oh, there's my ruler. They leave little white filaments on your stamps, and then they will eventually work their way into your ink pads. So as long as I have the Bermuda Bay ink open, I am going to stamp my sentiment. Oh, I just lost it. All right, if your stamps don't like to stick on your block. Oh, perfect. Feline said she bought a couple of foam pads that were on discount from the Stamparatus. That works perfectly too. Just get you can wash your photopolymer stamps under the water. So as you use your stamps and love them, they will become less sticky, these photopolymer ones. And so you can wash them underneath the tap water and just let them air dry, and they will become sticky again. So with the photopolymer, you can also see how to stamp, like where it's going to get stamped. Now, I have the ribbon over here to the left. So I'm going to stamp a little bit slightly off center, a little bit more to the right, so that I leave a little room for that ribbon. And because they're photopolymer, you can see through it. You go straight down, straight up. And the other thing is you can see if it's crooked. Now, I didn't practice stamping on a piece of paper, but if you're a beginner stamper and you're uncertain about going right to your cardstock, go to a scrap piece of paper. You go straight down, straight up, let the ink hit the paper, and have a second. If you go like that really fast, it's not going to be as crisp and dark and nice. I find sometimes people rock the stamps too, and then it gets darker and thick on one side and lighter and more narrow on the other side. It's all about consistency, guys. Straight down, straight up. Let the ink sit on the paper. Honestly, Diane Bogenhagen, who's doing this class with me, she's teaching Tuesday. She just lets her ink or her block sit on the paper, and she will go off and do something else, like assemble something, and then she'll come back like 10 or 15 seconds later, and it'll be perfect. Like, just, it's awesome. Here's another thing. If you get ink on your block, don't continue to work with it with ink on your block. You're gonna get your finger in there. Once you get your finger in there, you're gonna hit something, and then you're gonna get ink on your paper, and you're gonna cry a little bit, and then it's gonna be okay, because life goes on, it's fine. But if you get ink on your block, just clean it off right away. Don't risk it getting on your paper, because here, I'll show you. What happens is if you get it on your corner of your block and you go to stamp and you rock your block, you're gonna get that corner thing right there, and you're not gonna be happy, you're gonna be sad. Okay, clean off your corners. The other thing too is not pushing too hard. When I find sometimes people will push really hard, and then there'll be ink on the edge of their stamp, and they'll get that halo. Try to avoid doing that as well. Okay, so that's it for envelopes. So I don't generally do envelopes with you guys in class, but you've got your envelope. Put this little flower pattern on your envelope as well. Okay, do as I say, not as I do right now. Okay, so pull out the yellow here, and we're gonna, so you guys also notice here that blocks. We talked about needing some blocks to start. You can't just all have the big D block. You need different size blocks for different size stamps. If you put this little baby stamp on this big, I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen here. If you have a big D block and you put this little baby, thanks for sharing, Vicki. If you put this little baby stamp, you guys, I lost this too right before class, and then I found it on the floor. He took a ride. When you go to ink this up and you go like that, do you see this? You go yellow all over the place. That's not good. If you would have had a little bit smaller of a block, or I should say a lot smaller of a block, and then look, Mita, it totally sucked up right where that circle is, right there. Okay, that's not cool. So you want to use a small little block for a small stamp, and you want to tap so lightly, just like that. If you tap really lightly, it won't suck all the ink up underneath where you took it from. It's like right there that you guys see what happens. I know it's hard to see it that far away, but it left a little circle. Sad, but that's okay. There's still ink there. But my point is, use a small block for a small stamp. Don't, like, Stampin' Up! Stamp pads are so juicy and inky and foamy that you do not need to push hard. They're not your stamp pads of the older days where they were fabric and dried out. I remember being in school in second grade and having stamps, and they were just fabric pads that were old, and you couldn't, if you want, you can do a couple little yellow centers here and just fill it all in. You don't have to push very hard. So, okay, so fill in your yellow center there. And then, oh, you guys, we forgot about this one, haha. Okay, we're not done with Bermuda. You're probably thinking to yourself, what is she talking about? So we got to create our background here, which is kind of like our designer series paper. So it's this guy here. Bermuda Bay, again, first and second. I went to go fill in the yellow centers, and I didn't have flowers. Yeah, you just literally, okay, yeah, what Vicki just said is she lays the stamp on the pad, no pressure, and look, boom, so much ink. Now, first, second, and again, you don't have to push hard. First, second. Here's a second, and then I'm gonna do, so when I'm doing a second on here, and I don't have a first to do, I go first off on a piece of paper, and then I go and do my second on here. Now I think I'm good, and I can finish here with yellow, and we're gonna do a yellow center, and I'm gonna do a second strength in the middle of the second strength ones. Hi, Donna Dresp. And then this one can go here. Okay, so I think we're good on the yellow, and then we're gonna fill in with some leaves. So let's go back. We're gonna do this and bring in, so this is Granny Apple Green. The yellow was Daffodil Delight. So this is there, and then we have some leaves. So there's two leaves in the stamp set. One is a bigger leaf and one is a smaller. So I did a combination, or I should say Diane and we did a combination, let's see how dark that is. We did a combination of big and small. So here's what just happened. This is a tip. Did you see I just stamped on the edge of my paper, and part of it was on the cardstock and the other part was off the cardstock? Now if I go to do a second strength, there's a line there. That line is because you partially stamped on your cardstock and then off of your cardstock. So had I went and put that second strength right on here, it would have looked exactly like that, and I wouldn't have been excited about that. So if you're ever wanting to do a second strength on something, start over. So if I do, let's say here, a first strength on the edge here, and now I want to do a second strength, I'm not going to use my second strength here. I'm going to go over here and make a different second strength like that. And now I'm going to pull in some of the little dudes here and fill in all over. Now, I did my first strength completely on the page, and then I did my second strength over here. That's all right, you guys, that's no problem. But if you were off the edge of the paper, that's where it creates an issue that you don't want to have that doing it. Same here, I'm off, and now it created that little line. So I'm gonna stamp off, and then I'm gonna come back and put a second strength over there. So here, I'm gonna get a line. So I'm gonna try to not have a line. So there we go. Now, don't forget this little strip of blue is gonna go right here, so you don't have to worry. So I'm looking empty through here. So I'm gonna put another big leaf, and I'm gonna make it at second strength right there. The other thing too is when you're stamping on your scrap paper and trying to get second strength, if you do your second strength, depending on the color of the ink, if you do your second strength over the top of a colored section, you have the chance of picking up that color from the paper onto your stamp. I promise you. If you're doing like yellow and stamping off over the top of a dark color, you will pick up that dark color in your yellow stamp. So you just want to be careful. So every time I go to get a second strength here, I am finding a new space that doesn't have color. We're gonna do that one there. Okay, I think that looks great. Anyways, that's how you create designer paper. Like, just picture a whole 8.5 by 11, stamp it full of this pattern. You guys, there was no pattern really, but just stamp it full of all flowers and leaves, and you've just created your own background. Okay, there were a whole lot of tips in there, guys. So that is the green. I think, oh, you guys, we're not done. Why do I always forget? You always gotta forget the inside, right? Don't forget your envelope too. If you have an envelope, so we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do that, and then maybe a third one just for good measure there. Okay, I think now we might have this all done, and we can get glue happy. Another tip for you guys that are beginning, just starting, I always recommend get your stamping done. Again, remember, if you don't like the way this stamped, you could flip it over and re-stamp on the back of your card, your cardstock. Once you have all your stamping done, then you can just work on assembling. And one of the things that I was always taught by my fearless leader, who is no longer my Stampin' Up! Upline, Doris Fryman, she always said, assemble from the top down. So that was a good rule of thumb. What did I do here? I stamped on both sides. Haha. Well, I must have had it done already. So which side do I want? I want that side. So assemble from the top down. So I work my way down. Sometimes if you work from the bottom up, you forget to layer. You forget about like ribbon that needs to get put down, or just, it's always just a good rule of thumb, top down. And you know, when you're watching me in card classes, I don't always follow that. But I always am looking ahead to see, okay, does that require some sort of different dimension? I'm gonna wait to glue this down because I want to get this situated, because with this label, I'm doing dimensionals here on the sides and glue in the middle. So we're gonna do this one next for this. And you guys, if you're just starting out, oh, that's not a good thing to do, but we are okay. We're gonna just flip that like that. I like to, as long as I have my glue bottle open, I like to get a couple things glued, so I'm not constantly opening and shutting my glue. So I know that this gets glued onto here, like so, and then we have our inside that can now get glued into here. Make sure that it's facing the right direction. And there's that. With the liquid glue, you can see I can wiggle it around back and forth a little bit till I get it exactly where I want it. This layer is going to get adhered down flat. So we just talked about layering from the top down. I can't put this down until I have this down. So it's just thinking about the layering and the order of things. So this is going to get put down because I'm trying to just eyeball it with where it is on the card here. This is dimensional. So when you get to the end of your dimensionals, do not be afraid to use the ends, guys. Somebody put this in the garbage, a whole outline, and I thought, I'm taking that out of the garbage and I'm going to use that because it's perfectly good to use. So use those ends just as you would have used the inside pieces, and honestly put them however you want. I didn't want to trim that, so I'm putting it like that. I know that looks wonky, but it's okay. But look, I just used a sheet of dimensionals. Woohoo! That always makes me feel good. So we're gonna take off the waxy paper. All right, Ellen, we'll catch you later. And now just remember, I didn't put some here. That's gonna be more towards my bottom. Now this layer's on here, something like so. Now, I got glue accidentally on here, but I have a little, now this is where this is popped up, but my label hangs over the edge, and I don't want to put just a layer of dimensionals over the whole thing. I actually want to just layer this flat with glue and then dimensionals on the side. Oh, Donna, I'm so happy. So it's Bermuda Bay and Daffodil Delight with some of the pattern play paper. So pretty. So I'm trying to get these situated. I'm putting them right next to, oh, I just grabbed two, right next to the Daffodil Delight paper. And then I'm just gonna make sure that that's gonna work. So I prepped with dimensionals on the sides, and then I'm gonna put, and I didn't put it on here because I didn't wanna guess where to put it. I wanted it as tucked in as close as possible, and then I'm just gonna put a little line of glue here. And then this is gonna get put on the card front, like so, and ribbon. So we pulled in the Bumblebee gingham ribbon. It's Bumblebee, even though we use Daffodil Delight. You really can't tell that they're not the same. They're so close, but make sure you guys have about 4 inches, I think, of ribbon. So I used the ribbon scissors to cut that. Now to put this on, all I did was take a little bit of glue dot, and I put it right in the middle of my Bumblebee ribbon, and I kind of folded it over. And as I folded it over, I folded it so that it was kind of diagonal like that to create my tail. So that held it together. But now I used another glue dot. Do not use liquid glue with ribbon. I see people trying to do that, and I try to tell them why they don't want to. Liquids and ribbon don't go good together, I tell you. They will not dry. It won't dry. If you have the ability to set it there and not move it and let it dry, fine, like overnight. Just use a glue dot. Look at that. I'm just squishing that down. Grab your ribbon scissors, not the glue scissors. I think that's ribbon. And trim your tails. Now they look, tails fine. If you want them both going the same way, you could have them going this way, you could have them going this way, however you like to see it, you guys. Just remember that when you're making a card, it's your card. You can make it however you want. You can use my sample as a guideline, but you could have made this card be a horizontal card if you wanted. Hi, Elaine, Rebecca. So last but certainly not least, in your kits, you guys got rhinestones. Oh, here they are. You got some rhinestones. You got a few of them. I have a big one that just goes, so the rhinestones have adhesive on the back of them already. So just, I want to put it right there. Put that on. And then we've got some small ones that you can put on. So here with the, so this is where the take your pick tool comes in handy for beginners. If you don't have nails or you don't do good at picking up ribbon or embellishments, it's a putty end, and you can put that. It helps you to place your diamonds. So on this take your pick tool, there's a pokey end, a spatula end, and then there's a putty end. and the putty end is refillable, so you can buy replacements for the putty end. There's also a stylus of a big ball and a little ball that go on this end, and I think I have it right here. So there's a stylus that also goes with the take your pick tool. So if you don't have this yet, then this can be an awesome tool for scoring, and that interchanges. So I just keep mine in there so I don't lose it. You guys, this is a little yogurt container. That's all I use to keep this in. Okay, paintbrush can go back, bone folder back. Okay, you guys, that was it. A little stamping, a little assembly. Not so bad. Got our inside in. If you have a nice little birthday sentiment, you could put that in there. That would be really cool. Okay, so Elaine, if you're still watching, your mini jam jars just came in and they are hanging under the counter in the mudroom for you. So I just got them yesterday in the mail. Woohoo! They had been on back order since sometime in May, I think. So, but they're here now. Okay, so there is card number 1. We're good. Now, let's go to card number 2. So where this inspiration came from is a card from Terry Gaines. She's a fabulous stamper. We copied her layout. So very, very cool. So she used designer series paper here. It's a really pretty paper from the hydrangea set that is no longer available. And we just copied her layout, you guys. The measurements are what we took from here, and we made it into our own card. Same layout, different stamps, different paper, and we kept it more conservative with the designer paper. We didn't want to use a whole chunk of designer paper, which that was perfect. It was great. We kept it a little more simple because you might not have as much designer paper. This way it just used a rectangle here. So in your card kit, it looks really weird, you guys, your card kit. I know it looks so funky, but trust me, all the pieces should be there, and there's plenty of pieces. So you have your card, here we go. Card base is actually a quarter sheet of paper, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather. Highland Heather is just a 1/4 inch less. It should be, let's see here. It was, 4 by 5 1/4, so 4 by 5 1/4. That makes part of our bottom. The white piece here, you guys don't be mad, but it's 16ths. It's 5 1/16 by 5 13/16, and it's scored at 3 13/16. I think. I'm pretty sure it is, so we'll see. I don't know how I would have scored that on that scoring thing, so maybe I scored them all on the board, but yeah. And maybe I did them at 1/4 inches. So, but basically you have a thick piece, so whenever you use white for, Donna doesn't have enough DSP. Yeah. Whenever you use a base that is out of white or vanilla, you should use a thicker one. It just makes your card stronger and sturdier. So this is thick white, guys. The designer paper is 4 7/8 by 1 13/16, so that's gonna go here. This little guy, this is the Gorgeous Grape, is 5 1/2 by 3 1/4. So it's scored at 3 1/4. So you could already burnish the edge. So that's what's gonna go in here like that. You have a little rectangle that is 3 by 3. So yeah, it's a rectangle. No, yeah, square. I meant to say square. That's 3 by 3. I think I cut mine too small. I think I cut mine at, 2 13/16. So mine's gonna be a little bit more purple showing, but you guys, for your kits, I'm pretty sure I cut them at 3 by 3. You have then, so this will fold over. This little Highland Heather fits on this little front flap, and then we have a little basic white flap that goes on here as well. And then you guys should also have in your kits some Gorgeous Grape ribbon, which we'll tie around. So first things first, let's do our stamping. So, and then we'll do our assembly. So we're gonna grab this little guy and this, and we're gonna get our stamping done. Piercing mat, so pull in your piercing mat, put that underneath, because again, we're using the photopolymer stamps, and we're gonna be stamping the Highland Heather, or is it Gorgeous Grape? Let's look. Gorgeous Grape, yep. Okay, so I think we're done with the Bermuda Bay and this. Let's move that out of the way. And we're gonna pull in gorgeous grape. And then there's another flower in that set that's a little smaller. So I've got 3 little flowers that are going to be stamped on the rectangle piece. And so one's up here, one's to the left, one's to the right. I kind of staggered them. And don't forget to do a flower on your inside. And I think that that's it. You guys do your envelopes too if you have your envelope handy. And then for yellow, just a little yellow inside on each of them. Right, like that. Okay. And then you're going to grab the little leaf with the granny apple. We're going to stamp that. We got 3 of them. You guys, it's like floral arrangements. 3s are always good. So we've got one going off the side here, one going up this way. And honestly, you guys, if you want more or less, it's always up to you. You guys, they're your cards. Make them however you think that you're going to like to see them. And the person that gets them is going to think that they're not. Honestly, people love anything that they get that's handmade, I think. So we're going to do a leaf there. We'll do one here. And I think I'm also going to have one come out up this way. Okay. Hello. Hello. You called. Adele wants to say hi. Okay. I think that I might have hello not out yet. So let's go in here and check. Yep, hello's right here. So what we're going to do when you get your stamps, let's move this right here. And I got to get a clean stamp. So grab your chamois. If you run out of blocks in between, just clean your stamps. And let's put that there. We're going to clean you. We're going to clean you. Clean you. Get them nice and clean. I think that's all for now. Oh, I don't know if I did that one. Okay. So we're going to stamp hello underneath. So just remember your ribbon's going to go around in there. So the hello gets stamped closer to the bottom, centered left to right. And that's what I've got. Closing the ink pads can always be a problem for people. So there's this little lip here. So you pull that with your nails and then it flips away towards the opposite side and then it should snap shut. Okay, so you guys, we've got our stamping done. Now it's a little time for assembly. Yes, get it ordered, Vicki. It's time. Let's get glue happy, okay? The only thing we have to remember is that our ribbon is wrapped around the Highland Heather. So let's do that first so we don't forget that, okay? I'd hate, but as long as I'm gluing, I'm gonna glue 2 things because this girl can't just glue one thing at a time. So this piece is getting glued onto our Highland Heather. Get you on here. I didn't give myself a lot of margin on my purple, my heather. And you can see, you guys, I don't know if you can see, I can wiggle this because of liquid glue. It allows me to wiggle it till I get it exactly where I want it. And then this is going to go on our inside. Again, you guys are going to see a little less purple because I made your white piece 3x3. So Highland Heather ribbon. I think that I gave you how much? It says 8 inches. So I don't think this is enough to, oh, it's not quite enough. I mean, it is, but I would struggle, and I don't like to struggle tying ribbon. But here's a trick for tying ribbon. You guys have enough to go behind and tie a knot. But here's another way. Like this ribbon was just a little bit too short to make that work. So what I'm gonna do is go around my glue bottle like this. Julie Bierschbach just reminded me of this tip last week. So hi April Drain. So find something and tie it around. I'm gonna see if this is gonna work. So I just tied it around my glue bottle, okay? And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this. I'm not gonna cut it in the center because my bow is, or my knot is more to the left. I'm gonna see if this is gonna work. So grab your ribbon scissors. Let's see, I think it's this one. And I need a little bit to hang around the back. I'm gonna cut it right there. I'm gonna see, this might not work, but we're gonna try it. So now I've just cut this like this. And now I can tape my ends behind, and I don't have ribbon back there, but I just used this scrap piece of ribbon that was just hanging out on my roll of ribbon because I cut it accidentally sometime along the way. You guys have enough to tie it and make a knot and not do this little trick, but here's another little tip or trick, I guess. So now I'm gonna take my tear-in tape and I'm gonna make my ribbon sandwich here. So put your ends down onto the tape. And actually, I'm gonna grab that rough end and put that back there. Okay, there we go. All right, and now I'm gonna, here's the sandwich part, is I put another piece right over the top of those. Oh, that was really short, but I'll use it. Okay. The more that you press down on your tear-in tape, the easier it is to pull that waxy paper off. If you don't have it really secured to whatever you're sticking it to, that waxy paper is going to want to come up with it. Where did I put my glue? Ha, right there. So I was looking for it over in the little container. It wasn't there. All right, so now that's gonna go on this front flap of the Gorgeous Grape. At the very end is when I will trim my tails. Okay, so don't worry about that right now. But we can get a little glue happy here. So let's get this glued onto here. And then my designer paper can also get glued. So put a little adhesive behind that. And now this will go onto the Gorgeous Grape. Like that. And then our designer paper goes on the front flap of the thick Whisper White. There's no up or down to this pattern paper, so don't worry about getting it upside down or not. Just get that glued on there. And now we can glue this back flap to our card base. And then we can also prep a little glue on this back flap of the Gorgeous Grape. So now this, center that on your Highland Heather like that. Now here you can choose, you want it centered or you want it more top, but this is what, I'm going to center it top to bottom and then left to right. So something like that. Perfect. Okay. Now give it all a good squisheroo so it's secure. You're going to use opal rounds on this. You guys have some opal rounds in your kits. So I've got 3 of them in there. You either got 2 large and a small, or you got 2 the opposite. 2 large and a small, or 2 small and a large. That's what I was trying to think of. Okay, so you got some opal rounds. So I love bling and embellishments. We got a little ribbon on here. We got to grab our ribbon scissors now and trim your tails, because right now this one is straight. So I want to make that at an angle. Using the ribbon scissors, I should allow it to slice that really nicely so it leaves a good edge. This ribbon does fray slightly, so I always save ribbon cutting for the very last thing on my card, because then I don't risk doing something to it throughout the process of assembly. And that's it, you guys. We got another card done just like that, lickety split. Woohoo! Okay, so card number 2 is done. Next, we have the last set of cards. I say set because we are making 2 cards with 1 process. Okay, so, and let's see, I need a drink of water. We're gonna need yellow and pink and green. So let's move these out of the way, because we don't need those right now. Okay, we're done with yellow and purple. So let's move those. We are done with this block. All right, and we're doing thank you on this one. So let's get him out of the way and move on to our card. number 3 and 4. So you guys have 2 separate envelopes for this set of cards. Now, Kelly did a Technique Thursday on this actually, and we loved it so much that we are doing it for this class. We wanted you guys to experience this. Now, if you don't have the stamp set and you have a different flowery stamp set or anything else, you can do whatever you want on here. You're gonna get this and you're gonna be like, there's not a lot of paper in your kit, and that's kind of true. It's basically, because this one was just so pretty, this one just lets the stamps speak. You have, in your 2 kits that are left, each kit contains these materials. I just put mine together in one plastic sleeve. So this is a pair. And so you have 2 Melon Mambo card bases. They're exactly the same. Oh, so I always go with the mountain. Okay, so Feline, you said mountain. I think this is what you said is fold to the mountain. So my mountain is here. So I generally fold with the mountain on the inside. I think. That's what I was drawn to do right now. And I just remembered that. So, all right, so my mountain is on the top, my valley is on the back, and so that's what I'm doing. So grab your bone folder, burnish. Now, you guys, in your kits, you have some mats that are identical. I don't know why I have 2 of those. Okay, let's just think here. So you have 2 basic blacks, which are 4 by 5 1/4. So those are for your outside. You have 2, I have extra, I think. You have 2 whites that are the 4 by 5 1/4 that are for your inside. So I'm gonna just set those off to the side. Then I have here 3 13/16 by 5 1/16, and that's for your outside here. Not much, you guys. And then you have 3 little black dots for each one. Okay, so sorry, there's not a lot of paper. There's not a lot of layers like normal for a class. So let's move these off to the side, and we're gonna concentrate on these first. And I am going to bring in, I have a big foam mat that I like to use in class. This is what my students use. I have this big foam mat. And so I'm gonna move this like that, and we're gonna work with this. So if you guys ever watched a video of me, I kind of shamed the big F block. It's the F block. I didn't shame it. I just said I don't use it very often. I use the Stamparatus instead. So I'm using it. I'm going to put it right out there that you may have remembered me saying I don't use it very often, but we did. We used it for this one. It's very big and bulky. If your hands are smaller like mine, it's really hard to hold on to it and stamp it. So you just got to get comfortable with it for this one. Yes, Feline, you are so true. Beautiful cards don't always require a lot of supplies and paper. You are so true. So for this though, you guys, I am going to line up these 2 pieces of paper next to each other. My big stamp from this Blossoms in Bloom is on my big F block. It is. And we're going to be using Melon Mambo. Now, if you look at this right here, you can see that this is stamped like this. And then there's an oddball here, a rando right there, and a rando down there. Okay, that's what we're basically going to be doing. So I am going to, so here's the thing. If you aren't comfortable stamping, you may want to use washi tape to hold this down, but I'm going to ink this up, and then I'm going to find right where the seam is, and I'm going to try to center this right on here like that. And I'm just going to go for it, straight down, straight up. And I'm not going to tape my paper because I feel like as long as I ink this up good and I put good pressure, I'm going to be good. Because then what I'm going to do is come back and ink up and fill in the other flowers on here. So you could take washi tape and like tape this all down. But when you use washi tape to tape things down, you sometimes risk that it will rip the paper on the sides where you pull it off. So you don't always want to do that. So it's easier when you have a big stamp like this, that instead of going like this, put the stamp upside down and put your ink pad to it this way. You have more control over the ink pad because that's smaller, and you can just ink this up really good. So that's Melon Mambo ink, and you can just stamp these flowers. Make sure your paper is lined up just like this, And we're gonna put our, don't drop your stamp down onto your paper right now. I will tell you, you're not gonna be happy if you do that. I'm gonna line this up and we're gonna find the seam and we're gonna put half of our flowers on one side and half of our flowers kind of on, so we got 3 on one side and 2 on the other, and then we're gonna fill in the gaps. So something like this. And you could see that as I stamped, I got a little gap right there with the paper. That's not gonna make any difference. Now, when you're stamping, just go a lot of good even pressure on this so that you give the ink time to hit the white paper. Okay? When it's good and inked, could you have kept the paper intact and cut? Yes, absolutely, Jeannie. Yeah, definitely. So you could have kept this as one sheet of paper and then stamped and cut it down the middle. I think that's probably what Kelly did on her tip or her Technique Thursday card. Yeah, definitely. But for when I made up the kits for you guys, I did not do that because I wanted you guys to each have your kit. So now that we've got that split like that, we are gonna have to fill in. All right, Danny, we'll see you later. Hopefully that you get your kit soon and you have a great week as well. All right, so then we're gonna find this one flower right here is gonna kind of fill in down here on the bottom. So this is why I grabbed my big mat, because I knew I was gonna be getting ink. So here's another tip. When you guys have a big stamp like this, you don't have to ink it up if you're only using a small section of it. So watch this. I'm only gonna ink up this top flower right here. I'm not inking up the whole thing because I don't wanna waste any extra ink. And now I'm gonna put this guy so that he is gonna fill in this area right here like that. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'm gonna fill in a little bit down here. We're gonna do something like that, I think. So I'm only gonna stamp that little area over here. So just put ink right there. And then we're gonna fill in that area like that. So that one's good. Now let's guide, this guy right here needs a little bit of ink up here. So we're gonna bring maybe this flower right there. And we're just gonna ink up that little area. So if you're not gonna be using the whole stamp, don't put ink everywhere. It's not worth it to put that extra ink on there. I noticed I got ink on my corner here, so I'm gonna wipe that off so that I don't get ink on my project. Okay, now you've got those stamped. You've got to do your insides. So you see there's a big flower right in the bottom corner. I have my mats here. So as long as we've got the pink ink going, our Melon Mambo, we're going to ink up this top one and put him in the bottom corner like that. Now, I thought about it after the fact. I'm like, oh shoot, I got a random thing right there and I got a random thing right there. But if you don't like that, flip it over and redo it. So you can, that's where it's like, well, if you don't like the way you stamp it the first time, now, but this time, let's be more cautious about where we stamp this. We're gonna bring it down a hair here, so, and I stamped it really good, and now it just looks like a petal coming off the back side. So there's that one. And now as long as we're here, we're gonna do the other one for the other inside. Put that right in the corner like that. Okay, so we've got our Melon Mambo stamping done. Again, use the paper, your scratch paper underneath, stamp off, because if you can eliminate ink going into your whatever you use for cleaning, like your chamois or your Stampin' Scrub, it's good just to like have it cleaned out, like cleaned off before you go into that. So now we're gonna do, let's get this guy out of here. He's big and oxy. So we're gonna grab our Daffodil Delight. We're gonna stamp our innards of our flowers all over the yellow, all over the middles of our flowers. So there's a middle, here's a middle, and then after the yellow, we're gonna come in and get our granny apple and fill our leaves in. So it looks like we've got one, and move your stamps around. In this case, it looked like the yellow fit in better going that way, and now the yellow fit better that way, and now this one looks better up and down. You guys just pay attention. So now you can see it created some randomness of angles. So this one looks like it fits that way. This one goes that way, more diagonal, and that's good. All right, stamp off a couple times, and now we're gonna fill in with our Granny Apple Green and different leaves. So here I've got 3, here I've got 3. So depending on what you're using for your stamps, you may have it slightly different. Let's just practice. So sometimes stamps have a washed look to them. So they're darker in one spot and lighter in the other, and they look kind of washy. That's normal. So we're gonna put that guy there, one there, and we're gonna put this guy going down. So there's 3. And then now this one, we'll put one up that way, one coming out here, and then that one we'll put aiming down. And then our inside, if you look at that, oh, I don't even think I have any. Ah, I didn't put any leaves, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna put a little guy going off the side here. And we'll put one there just to fill that in. And then let's just put one for sure right there. And we'll hang out with one over there. Okay, that's it for the Granny Apple Green. Slide it, and then hear that snap for those ink pads, those new ink pads. They need to get shut. Good. So now we're not quite done with stamping. We're going to put a sentiment on here. So I did thank you and thinking of you on these because we wanted to use more sentiments from the stamp set to show you the versatility. But because these cards are going to be prizes for some people who are lucky for watching and commenting, I'm going to stamp both of mine. I got a glue ball. I'm going to stamp both of mine with thank you. So very important. You've done all this work to get all these flowers and leaves on here. You don't want to rush through your sentiment. So, you know, practice on your paper. Make sure you're comfortable with how it's stamped. Straight down, straight up, good even pressure. And then when you feel confident, you go for it, and don't be scared of the stamping. Straight down. Give it a second for that ink to marinate. Straight up. And then I'm going to do a thank you on this side as well. Now I notice I've got a little spot right there. Thanks for sharing, April. I appreciate it. I've got a little spot there. And I think I'm going to try to cover that up with my words so that it's covered up. There was a little spot of red ink there, that Melon Mambo. You guys, that's another thing too. If you get ink on your card and it's somewhere where you don't want to go through the work and the bother of restamping, put your embellishments there. Rhinestones and butterflies are perfect for covering up any little disaster. Just remember, there are no mistakes. The person you're giving your card to is going to have no idea that you did anything out of the ordinary. Most people are just so happy that they got a card, and there's nothing better than getting a handmade card. I'll tell you, I save handmade cards. I don't generally save cards that I get that aren't handmade. Sometimes if I get a non-handmade card that has cool elements in it, I will cut the pieces out, and then I'll think someday I'm gonna make a handmade card with it. So you guys, when Tyler and I went to Hawaii, we got a coffee that we really loved, and we finished the bag, and we didn't want to throw the coffee bag away because it was so pretty. It was so pretty. It was a great memory. It was cool. It was awesome. And so I cut the coffee bag apart, and I actually created a card with the coffee bag and gave Tyler a thank you card. The front of the card was the front of the coffee bag. And you know what? He took that card and he put it away right away, like as a treasure, and he stored it away. I don't know if I'll ever see it again, but I think he liked it. So you guys can take whatever objects or material things or paper things, random things, and make cards out of them. So, okay, so far so good. That's what we've got. And then this card is embellished with some black matte dots. And there's 2 different sizes to the black matte dots. There's large and there's small. So I've got some large ones on there, and I'm gonna use some of the small ones from a new sheet. Take your pick tool. This is another one where you can, I've got paper on there, take it off of there. You can use your putty tool, kind of break the seal from on that acetate. Let's see, what do we have here? Uh-oh, let's see, where am I? I always like to look at a card to get ideas of where to put things. I have, the embellishing is the most fun part of a card, but then sometimes it's overwhelming of where to put stuff. So there's a little pokey tool, so that can help to pick up these as well. So let's see here. I don't know. We'll put one right there. So you could break it free. Sometimes it'll stick right to that pokey end as well. And let's see here. This one is this card. So we're going to put him here. And then, oh, I should be using these over here. Look, I already got distracted. So I like the putty end a lot. So we're going to put one over here. And then I'm going to grab a little one for I have no idea. Right there, I guess. You guys, and you can put more stuff on. If you have, Kelly did the in color, I think the in color gems with hers, and it just was so pretty. All right, so that, like, sometimes they don't like to break free like that. So now I get underneath there, that stick will help. I don't know. Where do we want to put it? I guess we're going to put it right there. Don't overthink it, guys. Overthinking will never allow you to accomplish cards. Like, you don't want to spend 6 hours trying to make one card, because if you feel like it takes 6 hours to make a card every time, you're not going to make a lot of cards. So don't overthink things. Just have fun with it. Okay, so that's it for the black matte dots for that card. And now that's basically it. We finished the last card. So just think, when you have a bigger stamp like that, how you could combine that to make 2 cards by cutting it in half like Jeannie asked. Yeah, you could definitely have started with one white piece of paper and stamped it so that you didn't have them. But for your card kits, I wanted to have them cut down to size for you so that you were rocked. Oh, we're not done. Where you were locked and loaded, but we got to do our insides. So hang on, grab your glue, and you know how it goes, 2 at once. So we're going to definitely do that. So you guys, as I'm finishing the gluing in here, did you learn something? Did you enjoy this beginner card class? I think this is the first time I've gone through to such great detail on like what is involved in stamping. You're gonna have to give me feedback. Honestly, reach out to me, guys, maybe privately or on here. Do I need to do that every time, or do I refer people back to this first video? Or is it good to go over those tips and tricks? I just don't know. After maybe 5 classes, it's like you guys are going to be sick of hearing all of my jibber jabber of the ins and outs of your stamping. So I'm going to show you guys here what we did for our card class tonight, or this afternoon. Did you have a favorite? We threw in a little bit of a fun fold here. We've got a lot of bright, cheerful colors going on. We kept it to 1 stamp set, right? You don't even need dies or punches or embossing folders to make such pretty cards. Anne says it's always something new to learn. Oh, thanks for sharing this with your group, Vicki. I appreciate it. Okay, so the next class that we are doing for Let's Just Stamp card class is featuring the Art Floral Art Gallery stamp set. So this is the next one. So in case any of you guys don't have this, you're looking to potentially get this for this class, this is all we used. It's a flower. You guys, flowers. We were in the summertime in Wisconsin. Flowers are blooming. Pretty soon we're going to move to fall and snowflakes, so don't worry. But we're doing flowers again. So this one, though, is a 3-card class. So it's the 3-card price is $12 for 3 cards if it's a porch pickup or a $20 order, or if it's mailing, it's $17 because $5 for shipping, or free with a $35 order. So these are the 3 cards that we did. So going on fast forward, we're going to try to keep it to 3 cards. The reason that we did 4 for this one is because that card was a double whammy card. So we tried to do mint. So I loved this one because it's so cohesive with mint in every card. And we pulled in Flirty Flamingo, Fresh Freesia, and Rich Razzleberry. Definitely went a little bit crazy. We used pearls on all of them, but we used a different ribbon featured on each one of these. Here we did the lamb technique. My cousin Kelly loves the lamb technique, so we've been doing that. Cutesy little baby bows. So we definitely have just stamps and paper, but this one's a little bit of a different fold. It goes like that. And so with some more of that mint stripe papers on here. So we kept it just to stamps and paper, a little bit of ribbon, a little bit of embellishments. And so this one's next month. You guys, I don't know if I do know. August 15th is when this one is. And then I think it's a little later, though. I think it's at 5 p.m. Central. And then Diane's doing her class August 17th here in the Hive. So, all right. So that's what we've got coming up for next month. So what do we have, though, coming up? It's Sunday. Where does the weekend go, you guys? All right. So Tuesday is Tip Tuesday. Oh, Kelly tried on Friday and Saturday, and it's Sunday now today. She still has a Technique Thursday video. Her internet just hates her, I think. And she tried to do it while she was here in the Hive yesterday because she has Technique Thursday ready for this coming Thursday, but she couldn't get the one loaded. Her internet was not cooperating. So we still have a Technique Thursday for this past Thursday, just not going to be airing on Thursday. She was going to try to make it happen today. So watch for Technique Thursday from this past week, and then we'll have Tip Tuesday on Tuesday. You guys, I leave for camping on Wednesday, and so I will be kind of like non-existent from Wednesday until Sunday. If you message me, email me, call me, text me, all of the above, just be patient. Just know that I probably am going to try to stay off of the technology. We're going up to Madeline Island and the Apostle Islands. We're going up north with the friends group, and we're going to Copper Falls State Park, and we're going to go camping, and I don't know what technology is going to bring. And I'm going to try to be remote, like removed, I should say. So Kelly is doing paper pumpkin for you guys on Thursday. So she got her video up. Oh, good. Thank you for telling me that, Jeannie. So Kelly's got Technique Thursday up, and then she's also doing paper pumpkin for you guys on Thursday, and she will have a Technique Thursday for you Thursday. She's already loaded that one, and that was no problem. The one she did at home, she did hers for last week at home. That's harder to do. When she does it here in the Hive, she has a different process for it. So it just took a little bit longer. You guys, wait. I have to show you guys the cards that we're doing for Kellogg launch party. I got to start prepping for that like today or tomorrow, and I want to show you the cards. So use my background for a minute to watch what's going on in the background. I haven't published this class on Facebook yet, or I haven't shared the pictures with you, so it's a fun folds, kind of, almost a fun folds. It's 3 cards are a fun folds. Thanks for all the happy campings. Yeah, I just made that word up. Okay, so fun folds, it's a catalog launch party. It's the middle of August, and I need to start prepping for it now because of the summer creative escape. And I'm going to show you guys these cards. I'll also get on publishing them in the next day or two. But it's always more fun to see them in a video. So this is a little fun fold. So all the designer paper is potentially going to be, there's 3 different patterns to choose from. This is that new Penguin Place paper with the dazzling diamonds or details glittery paper, but it doesn't leave glitter everywhere. And it is a little bit of a pocket fold here. So you can put a credit card, like a gift card, credit card in there. You could put a business card. You could put something in there. So, and that gets glued in there. So that's one card. Yes, Patricia, I got your summer creative escape form, and I got your money for the raffle. Yes, absolutely. So this is a belly band that comes off, and then this one opens like this. So this is some new designer paper that's part of sale-a-bration. And then the dies are from sale-a-bration. The stamp set is called Shaded Summer. It's in the annual catalog. And that is has now a matching die set that you can get for free with a purchase. So that's what's featured here. And this is the new Peaceful Place, Peaceful Prince designer paper with the new deer stamp that is in the annual catalog. But the paper is in the sale-a-bration. And then this opens up like this, and so it's a little bit of a fun fold too. So these 3 cards are for the Kellogg launch party for the holiday mini catalog, and then the last one isn't necessarily a fun fold, but it's a different layout. So we've got just like the this guy, it's just got 2 mats, but now this actually opens like this. So the Just Jade is the card base on Blackberry Bliss, and then the Dahlia is a new stamp set that you can get for free in the sale-a-bration catalog, and then this is some of the penguin paper. So 4 cards featuring new sale-a-bration products, and that is what I've got for the holiday mini catalog launch party. It's online Friday. Let's see here. It's Friday the 13th. It's Friday the 13th for the online class, I think. I have it in person on Sunday. So I have that in person on Sunday at 1, and then we have the Let's Just Stamp after that. And then it's in person on Monday the 16th. So anybody's looking to do that with me, start signing up now. I think I'm trying to forecast how many kits to make, and I think I have 30 signed up now, but I think I'm gonna make 60 because the last time I did a Fun Folds launch party, I think I had 68. So I need help because I gotta start working and prepping for that tonight and tomorrow because I'm going camping, and then it's basically gotta get it in the mail the following week, you guys. So don't delay, RSVP now. So, all right, you guys. So just as a reminder, for the door prize for this one, I mentioned this at the beginning of class. Barb Barco honestly was the only person that placed an order to get this class for free. So she's the only one that's going to get the door prize because that's by default her. So Barb, and your next time I send you a package, I will throw in a little gift for you. And I appreciate all your well wishes, everybody, for a camping trip and enjoying my vacation. It feels like Hawaii just happened, but I just looked at the calendar and I saw my brother this weekend because he went with me. And he said, wow, that was a month and a half ago. And it was like, wow, where did this last half and a month go? Lots of stamping in the last half a month, a month and a half. So, all right, you guys, it's Sunday. I'm going to go stamp and work on stuff. You guys have a good rest of your night. Lots of sunshine and love and hugs and happiness to you. We'll see you later. Love you. Bye.